So, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me see what we can do here because I think that this is me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me see what we can do here because I think that this is me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me see what we can do here because I think that this is me. So, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me A1.1 Policy Development Process. Policies and procedures developed within the Department of Health and Human Services DHHS, IDEA Part C Office, for operation of the statewide system of early intervention services. Comply with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, Part C regulations and are contained within this document. Any and all IDEA Part C 303 regulations noted in this manual refer to applicable regulations found within 34 CFR. Any changes to applicable federal regulations requiring changes to this manual will include public participation and approval by the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs, OSSA, prior to website posting on the DHHS IDEA Part C website. Policy development and review processes include 1, 2, 3. Annual review to ensure ongoing compliance with federal regulations and guidance for the Nevada Early Intervention Services, ICE, system and internal procedures will provide additional clarification and information to guide staff towards implementation of policies. Standardized format for all policies, procedures, technical assistance and other documents developed or approved by the IDEA Part C office. Coordination of and approval by the IDEA Part C coordinator regarding any documents posted on the DHHS IDEA Part C website A1.2, 303.1. Purpose of the Early Intervention Program for Infants and Toddlers with Disabilities. The DHHS IDEA Part C office works with diverse partners and stakeholders to maximize coordination of services to meet the unique needs of infants and toddlers and their families. Coordination includes fiscal entities, payers, community early intervention service providers, other partners, and stakeholders to build budgets and work within the legislative process to 1. 2. Develop and implement a statewide, comprehensive, coordinated, multidisciplinary, interagency system that provides early intervention services for infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families. Facilitate the coordination of payment for early intervention services from federal, state, local, and private sources, including public and private insurance coverage. 1, 3, 4, 5. Enhance state capacity to provide quality early intervention services and expand and improve existing early intervention services being provided to infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families. Enhance the capacity of Nevada and local agencies and service providers to identify, evaluate, and meet the needs of all children, including historically underrepresented populations, particularly minority, low-income, inner-city, and rural children, and infants and toddlers in foster care, and encourage Nevada to expand opportunities for children less than 3 years of age, who would be at risk of having substantial developmental delay if they did not receive early intervention services. A1.3, 303.2, 303.22. Eligible recipients of award. Nevada is an eligible recipient of IDEA Part C funds and, as a recipient, adheres to all provisions of Part C of IDEA, including the following components. 1, 2, 3. The DHHS is the lead agency. Any provider that is part of the ICE, regardless of whether that provider receives funds under Part C of IDEA, and all children referred to the Part C program, including infants and toddlers with disabilities consistent with definitions in 303.6 and 303.21 and their families. The provisions of this part do not apply to any child with a disability receiving a free appropriate public education or FAPE under 34 CFR Part 300, A1.4, 303.3. Applicable regulations. Nevada DHHS IDEA Part C staff adheres to the Education Department General Administrative Regulations, EDGAR, including 34 CFR Part 76, except for 76.103, 77, 79, 80, 81, 82, 84, 85, and 86 in applying the Part C Early Intervention Program in Nevada along with the Part C regulations at 34 CFR Part 303. When applying EDGAR regulations, the state educational agency refers to the lead agency, and any education records mean early intervention records in accordance with Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, A1.5, 303.100, 303.101, 303.102, and 303.202, lead agency authority, eligibility, conformity, including application and assurances. In accordance with Part C of IDEA, the Secretary has made available to Nevada funds to assist the state to maintain and implement a statewide, comprehensive, coordinated, multidisciplinary, interagency system to provide early intervention services for infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families. Nevada's application for IDEA Part C Federal II funding includes specific application requirements including certifications, descriptions, methods, policies and procedures as required in 303.201 to 212. As the lead agency, appointed by the Nevada governor and indicated on the Part C grant application, DHHS certifies to the Secretary that the arrangements to establish financial responsibility for the provision of Part C services among appropriate programs providers, both state entities and contract community providers, is current when submitting certification. DHHS meets the following conditions. 1. 2. Assurances regarding early intervention services and a statewide system. DHHS IDEA Part C provides assurances to the Secretary that A. Early intervention services, as defined in 303.13, are available to all eligible infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families, including A. Native American infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families, residing on a reservation geographically located in Nevada. B. Infants and toddlers with disabilities who are homeless children and their families. And C. Infants and toddlers with disabilities who are wards of the state. B. Nevada has in effect a statewide system of early intervention services that meets the requirements of Section 635 of the Act, including policies and procedures that address, at a minimum, the components required in 303.111 through 303.126. DHHS IDEA Part C provides information and assurances to the Secretary, in accordance with Subpart C of this part, including A. Information that shows that Nevada meets the state application requirements in 303.200 through 303.212. B. Assurances that Nevada also meets the requirements in 303.221 through 303.227. A1.6. 303.103. Abrogation of state sovereign immunity. Nevada is not immune under the 11th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States from suit in federal court for a violation of Part C of the Act. In a suit against a state for a violation of Part C of the Act, remedies, including remedies both at law and in equity, are available for such a violation to the same extent as those remedies are available for such a violation in a suit against any public entity other than a state. These requirements apply with respect to violations that occur in whole or part after October 30, 1990, the date of enactment of the Education of the Handicapped Act amendments of 1990, A1.7, 303.227, traditionally underserved groups. Nevada has policies and practices that have been adopted to ensure underserved groups, including minority, low-income, homeless, and rural families and children with disabilities who, 3 are wards of the state, are meaningfully involved in the planning and implementation of all of the requirements of the Part C ICE in Nevada. These families will have access to culturally competent services within their local geographical area. A1.8, 303.228, subsequent application and modifications of application. Anytime the DHHS IDEA Part C office has on file with the Secretary a policy, procedure, method, or assurance that demonstrates Nevada meets an application requirement under Part C of IDEA, including any policy, procedure, method, or assurance filed under Part C of IDEA, the Secretary considers Nevada to have met that requirement for purposes of receiving Part C of IDEA funds as in effect before the date of enactment of the Act, December 3, 2004. An application submitted by Nevada that meets the requirements of Part C of IDEA remains in effect until Nevada submits to the Secretary such modifications as Nevada determines necessary. This policy applies to modifications of an application to the same extent and in the same manner as this policy applies to the original application. The Secretary may require Nevada to modify its application under Part C of IDEA to the extent necessary to ensure Nevada's compliance with Part C if 1, 2, 3. An amendment is made to IDEA or to a federal regulation under IDEA. A new interpretation of IDEA is made by a federal court or Nevada's highest court. An official finding of noncompliance with federal laws or regulations is made with respect to Nevada. Subsection B. Authority and Oversight B1.1. 303.112. Availability of early intervention services. Nevada has in effect a statewide system of early intervention services which are, to the extent practicable, based on scientifically based research, and are available to all infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families, including 1, 2, 3. Native American infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families residing on a reservation geographically located in Nevada, and infants and toddlers with disabilities who are homeless children and their families, infants and toddlers with disabilities who are wards of the state. B1.2, 303.113, Evaluation, Assessment and Non-Discrimination, Early Intervention Programs in Nevada conduct. 4.1.2, Timely, Comprehensive, multidisciplinary evaluation of the functioning present levels of development of each infant or toddler with a disability, and a family, directed identification of the needs of the family of the infant or toddler to assist in the development of the infant or toddler. The evaluation and family-directed identification required in this section, B1.3, 303.700 and 303.707 to 708, lead agency role in supervision, monitoring, funding, interagency coordination, and other responsibilities. The governor of the state of Nevada has appointed the DHHS as the lead agency, single line of authority. The DHHS IDEA Part C office responsibilities include the general administration and supervision of programs and activities administered by agencies, institutions, organizations, and early intervention providers receiving assistance under Part C of IDEA. The specific components of Nevada's monitoring and oversight responsibilities are clarified in subsection F of this policy manual. Activities used by the state to carry out Part C occur whether or not the programs or activities are administered by agencies, institutions, organizations and include 1. Monitoring agencies, institutions, organizations and early intervention service providers used by Nevada to carry out Part C of IDEA. 2. Enforcing any obligations imposed on agencies, institutions, organizations and early intervention service programs. 3. Providing technical assistance, if necessary, to agencies, institutions, organizations, and ICE providers. 4. Correcting any noncompliance identified through monitoring as soon as possible, and in no case later than 1 year, after identifying noncompliance. 5. 6. Conducting the activities indicated in subsection F of this policy. Identification and coordination of all available resources for early intervention services within Nevada, including those from federal, state, local and private sources consistent with Part C of IDEA. 7. 8. Assigning fiscal responsibility in accordance with Part C of IDEA. Developing procedures in accordance with Part C. See subsection F and related policies for 303.700 to 708. To ensure early intervention services are provided to infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families in a timely manner, pending the resolution of any disputes among public agencies or ICE providers. 9. Resolving intra- and interagency disputes in accordance with Part C of IDEA. 10. Entering into formal interagency agreements, e.g., MOUs, directives, etc., or other written methods of establishing financial responsibility, defining the financial responsibility of each agency for paying for early intervention services and procedures for resolving disputes, including all additional components necessary to ensure meaningful cooperation and coordination as set forth in Appendix 3, 5B1.4, 303.121, Contracting Arranging for Services. Nevada has established procedures for contracting, or otherwise arranging for the provision of early intervention services. DHHS divisions are responsible for ensuring that early intervention services are available to children and their families and adhere to state personnel guidelines, including employment and advancement of qualified individuals with disabilities consistent with Part C of IDEA. This is accomplished through state-operated programs and contractual arrangements with diverse community early intervention providers. Contracts include 1. 2. Requirements that all providers in ICE meet state standards and be consistent with the provision of Part C of IDEA, and are consistent with the Education Department General Administrative Regulations, EDGAR. In 34 CFR Part 80, community early intervention providers must be approved by the IDEA Part C office, are required to have a background check, and are prohibited from becoming an approved provider if a criminal record reveals a conviction for crimes and offenses specified within Chapter 100 of the Nevada Medicaid Services Manual, regardless of status as a Medicaid provider. In addition, community early intervention providers must adhere to applicable IDEA Part C office policies, provider agreements, and state purchasing contracting policies. Updated provider agreements must be kept on file in the IDEA Part C office. Finally, an approved community early intervention provider also must make positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities in programs assisted under Part C of IDEA. B1.5, 303.122, Reimbursement Procedures. The DHHS IDEA Part C office has procedures for securing the timely reimbursement of funds used in accordance with Subpart F of Part C of IDEA, which can be found in Section 2, Subsection B, Fiscal Control. Further information related to reimbursement can be found within the System of Payments policy in Appendix 3 and documents in this manual. 6 Subsection C, Comprehensive System of Personnel Development C1.1, 303.31, 303.118 and 303.119, Comprehensive System of Personnel Development, Qualified Personnel and Personnel Standards, C1.2, 303.118, Comprehensive System of Personnel Development. The DHHS IDEA Part C office, in collaboration with the ICE and other appropriate state partners, is responsible for coordinating orientation, training and ongoing support to families, paraprofessionals, and early intervention service providers. Training is developed in collaboration with others across appropriate state and federal entities to ensure the training and technical assistance meets the needs of staff and includes a variety of early intervention topics. As part of the overall responsibility for developing and maintaining a comprehensive system of personnel development, CSPD, including the training of paraprofessionals and the training of primary referral sources with respect to the basic components of early intervention services available in Nevada, CSPD must include 1, 2, 3, training personnel to implement innovative strategies and activities for the recruitment and retention of ICE providers, promoting the preparation of ICE providers who are fully and appropriately qualified to provide early intervention services under this part, and training personnel to coordinate transition services for infants and toddlers with disabilities who are transitioning from an ICE program under Part C of IDEA to a preschool program under Section 619 of IDEA, Head Start, Early Head Start, an elementary school program under Part B of IDEA, or another appropriate program. CSPD may also include 1, 2, 3, 4, training personnel to work in rural areas, training personnel in the emotional and social development of young children, training personnel to support and empower families in participating fully in the development and implementation of the child's IFSP, and training personnel who provide services under this part using standards which are consistent across Nevada, including the Nevada Early Childhood Advisory Council, NECA. The DHHS IDEA Part C office collaborates with the Nevada Division of Human Resource Management, DHRM, licensing boards and others to establish and maintain personnel qualification standards. Standards ensure there are personnel necessary to carry out the purposes of IDEA who are appropriately and adequately prepared and/or trained. Qualified 7 personnel employed as providers in early intervention are defined as persons who have met minimum qualifications as indicated by DHRM or the requirements of their professional licensing board. This includes any required certification, licensing, endorsement, registration, or other comparable requirements that apply to the areas in which the individuals are conducting evaluations or assessments or providing early intervention services. DHRM class specifications can be found at http://hr.nv.gov/resources/class_specifications/ Efforts are made to recruit and hire appropriately and adequately trained personnel. Newly hired employees must meet minimum qualifications for their positions, including a review of equivalencies, related experience and supervision requirements. Positions that are contracted, as well as community provider personnel, are evaluated in a similar manner. Below is a list of qualified early intervention service providers. Position DHRM class specification minimum standard summary to be qualified early intervention staff, CDH.
Oh, wow. So all I'm trying to say is the legislators do this part. But when you go down to look for the services, good luck. They don't exist. As the service providers are not-for-profit agencies, so they don't have an obligation. Now, they're telling you what the minimum qualifications are for the state. So when you go look for this shit in the state of Nevada, good luck on finding it. So let's just continue to read because it is important to have this level of knowledge, because without it, it is difficult to survive in America. We'll go down to page 13 because that public awareness piece is what you need to understand that really ain't happening. Let's start speaking again. Hello. Welcome. Start the speech. Getting tired of this.
Below is a list of qualified early intervention service providers. Position DHRM class specification minimum standard summary to be qualified early intervention staff. See DHRM class specification and/or licensing board requirements for complete description early intervention services provided. See pages 39-43 of this policy for more detailed description. Clinical program manager, supervisory position, not direct service provider. 10.121. 10.122 and 10.123 Master's degree in clinical psychology, clinical social work or related field and 3 years of postmaster's professional experience in a human service delivery setting, including 1 year of supervision, plan, organize, implement and direct human services programs, including supervision, by establishing goals, objectives, policies and procedures, monitoring and evaluating programs, developing and monitoring budgets. Clinical program planner, supervisory position, not direct service provider. 10.125 Master's degree in a social or health-related field, which included clinical intervention coursework, and 2 years of professional experience as a clinician in an appropriate setting. Planning and analytical functions in support of programs, including quality improvement, program design, policy and procedure development, program evaluation, administration, strategic planning, and training. Senior physician pediatrician, U9087 unclassified licensed in Nevada as a physicians, with emphasis on development pediatrics. Provide medical services for diagnostic or evaluation purposes. To determine a child's developmental status and need for early intervention services. 8 Position nurse clinical social worker speech pathologist, SLP psychological developmental counselor, PDC. Audiologist, nutritionist or dietitian developmental specialist. DHRM class specification 10.354, 10.355, and 10.359, 10.144 and 10.151, 10.615 and 10.619, 10.152 and 10.153 and a 10.222, 10.226, and 10.235, 10.133, 10.140. 10.147, and 10.149 Minimum Standard Summary, to be qualified early intervention staff, see DHRM class specification, and/or licensing board requirements for complete description. Current license to practice as a registered nurse when required by state law and experience. Licensed by the Board of Examiners for social work when required by state law. Required coursework and practicum for master's degree in speech pathology or related field. Received a passing score on the national examination for speech pathology and audiology and possess a license when required by state law. Master's degree in psychology, counseling, education and 1 year. Postmaster's experience in providing standardized testing services, counseling and intervention. Licensed in Nevada as an audiologist. Current Nevada licensure and/or certification requirements from applicable board. Bachelor's degree in early childhood, special education, human growth and development, psychology, counseling, social work, or related field and 1 year of paraprofessional experience providing early intervention services. 9 Early intervention services provided. See pages 39-43 of this policy for more detailed description. Nursing services needed to allow a child to be able to participate in early intervention services. Participate in evaluations, assessments, therapy, service coordination, crisis intervention, and IFSP planning. Provide speech and language services including evaluation and assessment, identification, diagnosis, treatment, and IFSP planning in early intervention services. Provide services including standardized evaluations, assessments, individual and group intervention, and counseling for families with children receiving early intervention services. Provides testing and direct audiological services to early intervention population. Provide nutritional services and diet recommendations for families of infants and toddlers. Develop and provide special instruction services as indicated by the IFSP. Parent education. Technical assistance to family members, other agencies and service providers regarding human growth and development. Physician occupational therapist certified occupational therapy assistant CODA. Physical therapist licensed physical therapist assistant behavioral analysts public service interns. Size. Mental health counselor DHRM class specification 10.609 and 10.618 NA 10.612 NA 7.653 and 7. 665, 10, 135, 10.137, 10.138 and 10.139 minimum standard summary to be qualified early intervention staff. See DHRM class specification and/or licensing board requirements for complete description. Bachelor's degree in occupational therapy and completion of pediatric experience and possess a license when required by state law. Certification as a CODA by the National Board of Certification for Occupational Therapy and possess a license when required by state law. Current licensure from the State of Nevada Board of Physical Therapy and 1 year of professional experience working with individuals with neurological or orthopedic abnormalities. Current licensure from the State of Nevada Board of Physical Therapy. Time of application and throughout employment. Bachelor's degree in behavioral analysis, ABA, with some positions. Needed BACB certification. Working toward bachelor's or master's degree in any related field noted in this table. Master's degree in counseling, marriage and family therapy, social work, psychology or closely related academic field and 2 years of postmaster's professional mental health counseling experience. 10 Early intervention services provided. See pages 39-43 of this policy for more detailed description. Provides occupational therapy services for infants and toddlers, evaluations, assessments, goals, and IFSP implementation. Under direction supervision of a licensed ODR, CODAs assist in providing occupational therapy services to infants and toddlers, provides physical therapy services to infants and toddlers, conduct evaluations, assessments and IFSP implementation. Under direction of licensed PT, assist in developing and providing physical therapy services to infants and toddlers, provide behavioral analysis services to toddlers, functionally assessing the relationship between target behavior and the environment, then utilizing ABA methods to change behavior. Size are working toward any field noted in this table. These personnel are under direct supervision with appropriate staff. Provide counseling and family training to families of infants and toddlers. Address psychosocial problems within the family unit. Position orientation and mobility instructor, vision specialists, family services specialists including FSS supervisors, paraprofessionals including family members, interpreter of the deaf and interpreter specialist, behavioral aids, teacher's assistant. DHRM class specification 12.450 and 12.451 NA 12.374, 12.376. 12.379, 12.327 and 12.328, and a certified interpreter of the deaf or language interpreter 5.166 and 5.167 minimum standard summary. To be qualified early intervention staff, CDHRM class specification and/or licensing board requirements for complete description bachelor's degree in rehabilitation of the blind, orientation and mobility, rehabilitation teaching or special education, Nevada licensure requirements by appropriate board, graduation from HS, or equivalent, and 1 year of paraprofessional experience performing social services case processing. Complete early intervention orientation and follow NRS guidelines when applicable. Interpreter of the deaf or hard of hearing must be certified. See requirements at dharg.org. Interpreter specialist must be fluent in the language being interpreted and meet state guidelines. Graduation from high school or equivalent education and 6 semester hours in the required area of specialization plus 1 year of work experience which included public contact and which is directly related to the area of specialization, or an equivalent combination of education and experience. 11 Early intervention services provided. See pages 39-43 of this policy for more detailed description. Provide specialized training to blind and visually impaired clients in orientation, mobility and the use of low vision aids. Provide testing and vision services and supports to target population. Assist families in achieving self-sufficiency. Determine eligibility for public assistance-related programs. Provide other social support services as required. Volunteers, family members and others who assist early intervention professionals as required, e.g., family support. Provide interpretation services for persons who are deaf or hard of hearing. Interpreter specialist provides interpretation services for families with limited or no English language proficiency. Assist in accomplishing educational objectives by providing instructional assistance on a one-to-one basis or in a specific setting, including individual interaction, practicing skills, etc. The table above does not comprise exhaustive lists of the types of qualified personnel that may provide early intervention services. ICE providers may also be responsible for consulting with parents, other service providers, and representatives of appropriate community agencies to ensure the effective provision of services in that area, training parents and others regarding the provision of those services, participating in the multidisciplinary team's evaluation of a child and assessment of the child and family needs, and in the development of integrated goals and outcomes for the Individualized Family Service Plan, IFSP. Providing early intervention services as identified on the IFSP, and service coordination if designated as the primary provider. All developmental specialists will need to obtain and maintain an endorsement for early childhood developmentally delayed or an appropriate certification. The endorsement certification must be completed within 3 years of entry into the Nevada Early Intervention Services System as a developmental specialist, which includes both state and community providers. In situations where there are non-continuous periods of employment by the developmental specialist, the time remaining in which to complete the endorsement certification with the most current employer will be based on the time that remained to complete the endorsement certification when they left their prior position. Within the first year of employment, all developmental specialists must take at least one course toward the endorsement certification. Information regarding the endorsement can be found on the Nevada Department of Education website at http://teachers.nv.gov/licenses exceptional pupils, under the Early Childhood Developmentally Delayed link. An appropriate certification is one which is approved at the discretion of the IDEA Part C office through an approved course of comparable study, licensure and/or experience and is deemed to be equivalent to an endorsement for early childhood developmentally delayed. The IDEA Part C office, in accordance with Part C of IDEA 303.119, may make an exception to certain requirement to maintain an endorsement, license or appropriate certification. This exception is for early intervention programs which are making ongoing good faith efforts to recruit and hire appropriately and adequately trained personnel to provide early intervention services to infants and toddlers with disabilities who live in geographically remote areas of the state where and when there is a shortage of appropriately qualified personnel. An exception may be made by submitting a request to the IDEA Part C coordinator in writing. The coordinator may approve the exception when a provider has documented satisfactory progress toward completing necessary education, training and experience to meet the standards for the class specification service type. and when such exception is not contrary to other regulatory requirements governing the occupation, all ICE providers shall implement practices consistent with guidelines established by the Nevada Early Childhood Advisory 12, NECOC, and the Council for Exceptional Children, CAC Division for Early Childhood, DEC, Recommended Practices, C1.3, 303.105. Efforts to employ advance individuals with disabilities. Nevada DHHS as the lead agency makes positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities in programs assisted under Part C of IDEA 13 subsection D, Child Find and Public Awareness.
Well, child find and public awareness. So I'm just going to say this because looking at what she was, I'm going to have to stop this share for a second because I want to share something else. I want to share my email. I'll go here. Hello, good morning, good morning. I'm going to go to my email because she was so excited to share with me what she found in my box. Go here. I'm saying, is she serious? She was really serious about letting me know how Nevada provides services for all people. So let me just want to stretch this out. I know the inbox is so little. Now, here we go. Her name was Anne Marie Dixon. Am I sharing the right screen? Let me make sure I'm still sharing. Because it was a response. And it was her response to my concerns, as these are my concerns, and they're just mine. I don't know. It's kind of delayed. Anyways, I don't think I'm sharing the screen again. So I'm gonna share the screen. I have to go back to my Zoom window. It was there. But really, this one. Okay, I think we got it. This is how she responded. And I want everybody to listen because that little document that I was sharing with you was, excuse me, was totally amazing because it didn't say shit. And it talks about, all this idealism, but there are no programs and no data within her response to me. And I just want you to understand, I can comprehend the King's English, but maybe she didn't comprehend. As she was thanking me for reaching out, she didn't give me what I asked for. So let's just understand. Let's just read. Can we read this? Hello, I think we can.
I am trying to understand the public engagement and the resources offered to local school inbox. Search for all messages with label inbox. Remove label inbox from this conversation. Anne Marie Dixon. Anne-Marie.Dixon@doe.nv.gov. Monday, January 13th, 3:37 p.m. 2 days ago. To me, good afternoon, Ms. Anderson. Thank you for reaching out to the Nevada Department of Education NDE. We apologize for the delay in our response. We wanted to ensure that we found all the resources and information you would need following your inquiry. Attached is a fact sheet regarding how NDE collects information on significant disproportionality. The lead for Part C at the Department of Health and Human Services is Lori Ann Molina Lovell Lamelinalival at dhhs.nv.gov under Part C of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. IDEA. Child Find responsibilities focus on identifying, locating, and evaluating infants and toddlers, birth through age 2, who may have developmental delays or disabilities and are in need of early intervention services. Here's a summary of these responsibilities. Inclusive identification. Ensure all children, including those who are homeless, in foster care, or wards of the state, are identified. Include children in all settings, such as rural or urban areas. Public awareness and outreach. Conduct public awareness campaigns to inform families, caregivers, and providers about available services. Provide accessible information to diverse communities and families in their primary language. Timely screening and evaluation. Implement processes for timely referral and comprehensive evaluation within 45 days of referral. Assess developmental areas, including cognitive, physical, communication, social emotional, and adaptive skills. Coordination and collaboration. Partner with healthcare providers, child care programs, and community organizations to ensure referrals and outreach. Coordinate with Part B of IDEA for transitions when children turn 3. Continuous monitoring. Establish procedures to ensure no child falls through the cracks in the identification process. Use data systems to track referrals, evaluations, and services. These efforts are designed to ensure early identification and intervention, maximizing developmental outcomes for young children and supporting their families. Below are links for further information on IDEA Part C. Part C of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Link to information page. IDEA staff. List of staff and contact information. IDEA Part C Early Intervention Policy Manual. Link to their policy manual. Thank you. Anne Marie Dixon, she, her, Deputy Superintendent, Student Achievement Division, Nevada Department of Education 700 E 5th Street, Carson City, NV 89701, T775 687 9223. Confidentiality. This message and accompanying documents are covered by the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, 18
really?
U.S.C. Section 2510 to 2521, may be covered by the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, 20 U.S.C.
How would
Section
that happen?
122 grams. 34 CFR Part 99 and may contain confidential information or protected information intended for the specified individual, only. If you are not the intended recipient or an agent responsible for delivering it to the intended recipient, you are hereby notified that you have received this document in error and that any review, dissemination, copying, or the taking of any action based on the contents of this information is strictly prohibited. Violations may result in administrative, civil, or criminal penalties. If you have received this communication in error, please notify sender immediately by email and delete the message. The Nevada Department of Education will not accept any liability in respect of such communication that violates our email policy. Message clipped. View entire message 1 attachment, scanned by Gmail.
Wow. Did y'all hear that, message on the end? Because, this is public services. These are the obligation for the state. And there's nothing personal in regards to any one particular person that would violate that FERPA, that FERPA. But the real deal is how Nevada chooses to handle what they choose to do is unacceptable. And that's just real. And, they have an obligation to identify this significant disproportionality stuff. And they just do. And I'm saying they have a policy, they have an equity plan. Let's see, what do they do? They just don't do the work because they don't know what the work looks like. And that's just real. Let me see if I can. Did I get that one? Recent. Let's see. Yes, I am here. Come on and zoom. Come on and zoom, zoom. And it's just, it's just what it is problematic. And that's just real. It's problematic because America has an obligation to provide services for all people. And then when you look to see what's happening for the people, this is the discipline data. Now, I'm going to make sure we're sharing this. Oh, does it matter? The whole thing is that I'm talking and the discipline data is real. And the fact of the matter is so many children are not making it. And as they are not making it, it makes a difference. But I just want to know the conversation around support strategies for African American students. Stop the share. As it's not happening, and I'm searching for my community, and my community, well, culturally, I say, well, what the hell, right? What the hell? Because quite frankly, who knows? Because I certainly do not. And I'm not going to sit up here and fight for things that are so irrelevant that I can't expect an outcome from. But what I can expect an outcome from is the requirements around the manifestation determination data, meaning if they move a student or determine that the student has violated state policy and they would like to move them, well, they have to have a hearing first. And then they have to offer all the things they tried to do prior to moving you from your gifted and talented placement. And I'm telling you, that's what we need to see. We're going back to preview and we're going to find that document. Open, and how do you just open a document, and then all the documents appear, and then you have to understand that you need to understand. I need to delete some of that stuff on my Mac. Recent, no recent. Oh, what is that? Let's see. And I'm telling you, this has been the most strangest, and I do mean strange, relationship that has been happening. And I'm just saying, look at all these zeros. Now, do you see any information? Suspension, expulsion, disproportionality, discipline tracking by race. And this is what they presented. They presented this. So let me see what I'm sharing. Hello, hello. I think we're just sharing this, and I don't know. We have to, this is real. So we have to go back here. And then we're going to share the screen. And this is what we're going to share all windows. Share this window. Yes. Do you see this? I had to get down to this because this is usually how it happens. They provide no data, zero data. Now, what do you see? Is all those zeros on the page? Do you see what I see? And I say, no, you don't. You don't see what I see. Because how are they tracking discipline by race? I is confused. Ain't you confused too? I don't see any data. And this was done at the end of the year. Let's see. Do you see that? And it was a public meeting, just public. So they never come out with the truth, as the truth will set you free. Disproportionality is an obligation of the state of Nevada. But when they're not admitting to what's happening to you, and you just filling up them goddamn penitentiary beds, well, understand, problematic. The zeros represent problems in your community because you is not paying attention. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Because I'm sick of it. And so here we go. You see zeros all the way down. Suspension, enrolled, risk of index ratio, who cares? Then thank you. Then Christy McGill says, oh, I'm Christy McGill. Contact me. But they got no data for you, boo. Except for when you go down here and you look, 36.13% suspension for African American students, but 44% for Hispanic. And what we don't know, if these people are even really enrolled, because they use a lot of transitional people that work here in Nevada. meaning that they might not be citizens. But look at the Black people remaining high in all the categories of dysfunctions. Mm-hmm. My people is showing up. Possession of controlled substances showing up. You hear me? Without disciplinary outcomes. Uh-oh. What is this? Alcohol. My niggas don't drink. Oh my goodness. I said it. It's not alcohol that they getting in trouble for. Mm, hmm That might be a problem. And problems are problems. Problems are is that they get all this money to provide education, and for whatever reason, we get in the lockup. And that's just real. So I'm gonna stop sharing this window. No, let me see what else we got to share. Preview. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Hmm. Open, 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 open. And what else can we open? Downloads. Let's go to downloads. Let's see what we see. Mm-hmm. It don't even want to let you do that. I don't know why I can't. It's not highlighted. Let me see desktop. What is available? None of that. None of that. What is that one? You know what that is. Let's open it and see. You gotta find it. There it is. It's opening. One page. Let's read it. Let's select all the text. And let's begin to speak on it. Oh, you can't do it. Can't do it. It doesn't. Oh, we have to share the window. I don't know if we're sharing. Share the window. Okay. Since I can't share it like that, I have to go back over here. And it's not letting me share, but I can read. So it says August the 10th, 2010. And it's talking about requirements under Section 504, the introduction of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 protects the rights of individuals with disabilities in programs and activities that receive federal financial assistance, including federal funds. The Section 504 provides no otherwise qualified individual with a disability in the United States shall solely by reason of his or her disability be excluded in the participation in, being denied from benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And then it just goes on to say the United States Department of Education enforces. Who enforces? The United States Department of Education enforces programs and activities that receive federal funding. ED recipients, these include public school districts, institution of higher education, and other state agencies. ED publishes regulations on implementing 504 34 CFR Part 104 and maintains the Office of Civil Rights. I'm just saying, let me stop this share, that this is America, boo. And if you, it does not let me share any other window, but if you don't understand that there is a factor here of in immoral or impropriety, I will close this window. There we go. And I'm gonna close this window too. And we'll find myself. And then I've got to go over to here. I saw it. Do 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 do. Oh, do do do. There we go. We are changing out the windows. So when I say share, I'll say share. And then I'll say Share this window and it will pop up. Does it pop up, Boo? Apparently, we just have to wait to see what happens. National Center for Homeless Education. And you see, they're talking about confirming eligibility for the McGinty-Vento Rights Services. And I'm saying that you don't understand that in America, life is about sharing. That would be caring. And maybe you ain't sharing and maybe you ain't caring, but guess what? Let's just select all and let's just understand what the rules are the rules and the rules are the rules and the rules will always be the rules. Hello. Hello, y'all. Let's share.
National Center for Homeless Education supporting the education of children and youth experiencing homelessness https://ncha.ed.gov/best practices in homeless education brief series confirming eligibility for McKinney-Vento rights and services. This NCHE brief summarizes the key provisions related to eligibility included in the McKinney-Vento Act, provides recommended practices for confirming the McKinney-Vento eligibility of children and youth, and informs training and collaboration practices on confirming eligibility. McKinney-Vento definition of homeless 42 Introduction USC Section 11434 2. The term homeless children and youth. Children and youth experiencing homelessness face unique barriers to accessing and succeeding in school. Subtitle 7B of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. 42 USC Section 11431 at the following. Hereafter the McKinney-Vento Act establishes the definition of homeless used by U.S. public schools, and the educational rights to which homeless children and youth are entitled. For schools to be able to provide needed services to homeless students, they first must be able to identify these students. To determine a student's McKinney-Vento eligibility, the school district must determine whether the student's living arrangement meets the McKinney-Vento Act's definition of homeless. In the process of determining eligibility, school districts may encounter instances where they feel the need to confirm information provided about a child's or youth's living arrangement. This A means individuals who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, and B includes children and youths who are sharing the housing of other persons due to loss of housing, economic hardship, or a similar reason, are living in motels, hotels, trailer parks, or camping grounds due to the lack of alternative adequate accommodations, are living in emergency or transitional shelters, or are abandoned in hospitals. 2. Children and youths who have a primary nighttime residence that is a public or private place not designed for or ordinarily used as a regular sleeping accommodation for human beings. 3. Children and youths who are living in cars, parks, public spaces, abandoned buildings, substandard housing, bus or train stations, or similar settings. And I've migratory children who qualify as homeless for the purposes of this subtitle because the children are living in circumstances described in clauses I through 3. Brief provides local homeless education liaisons 1. Hereafter local liaisons and school districts with recommended steps to take and practices to avoid when seeking to confirm a student's McKinney-Vento eligibility. Briefs on additional homeless education topics are available at https://ncha.ed.gov/topics/recommended practices for confirming eligibility once full enrollment has occurred. If, after investigating, a district concludes that the student is not McKinney-Vento eligible, the district must provide the parent, guardian, or unaccompanied youth the opportunity to appeal the district's decision through the district's McKinney-Vento dispute resolution process. 42 USC Section 11432, G. 3, E. For more information, download NCHE's dispute resolution brief at https://ncha.ed.gov/dispute resolution 2. NCHE recommends that districts and local liaisons consider the following practices to ensure that efforts to confirm information about a child's or youth's living arrangement are reasonable, effective, discreet, and in compliance with privacy guidelines, policies and procedures. Use a housing questionnaire that incorporates informative yet non-invasive questions about a student's living arrangement as part of your district's enrollment paperwork. Use the information gathered on this questionnaire to assist with making determinations of McKinney-Vento eligibility. Avoid using the word homeless, as it may be off-putting instead. Incorporate Questions that describe living arrangements included in the McKinney-Vento definition of homeless. Sample questionnaires can be accessed at https://ncha.ed.gov/determining-eligibility/ and https://ncha.ed.gov/homeless-liaison toolkit. For more information on this topic, download Determining Eligibility for McKinney-Vento Rights and Services at https://ncha.ed.gov/determining-eligibility for McKinney-Vento Rights and Services, as required by the McKinney-Vento Act. Enroll students seeking McKinney-Vento eligibility immediately, even if they are unable to provide paperwork normally required for enrollment. 42 U.S.C. Section 11432, G. 3, C, I. Efforts to confirm eligibility should take place. Establish a district protocol incorporating the principles outlined in this brief to confirm information about a student's living arrangement. The protocol should provide clear guidance on the following issues. Steps to take when working with a student whose living arrangement might meet the McKinney-Vento definition of homeless. Steps to take when information received about a student's living arrangement needs to be confirmed. Personnel who will be involved when further investigation of a student's living arrangement is needed. The parameters within which involved personnel must act when confirming eligibility, including recommended and prohibited practices. If using home visits as part of efforts to confirm eligibility, train district staff who will be involved in conducting the visits on the following issues. Understanding the McKinney-Vento definition of homeless. Explaining the purpose of the home visit and what to expect as part of the visit to the family or youth in a way that is informative and respectful. Assuaging of families or youth's concerns about confidentiality, discrimination based on homeless status, and unwarranted social service involvement. 1. The McKinney-Vento Act requires school districts to designate an appropriate staff person, who may also be a coordinator for other federal programs, as a local liaison to carry out the duties described in the Act. 42 U.S.C. Section 11432, G. 1, J. 2. Confirming eligibility for McKinney-Vento rights and services. 2. Conducting the minimal investigation necessary to verify a student's living arrangement. Maintaining the confidentiality of information gathered during a home visit. If available, use your phone's caller ID to verify if a parent or youth is calling from a motel, hotel, shelter, or transitional housing program. Training and collaboration. Train district and school staff on the McKinney-Vento Act's definition of homeless and steps to take if working with a student whose living arrangement may meet the definition. Staff members to train include school administrators, counselors, social workers, psychologists, enrollment personnel, secretaries, nurses, attendance officers, and bus drivers. It is important to note, however, that while the Act establishes the need for a collaborative approach to identifying eligible students, with this type of approach being especially important in districts with large student bodies, the local liaison maintains the final authority for making determinations of eligibility. Request that bus drivers notify the local liaison if a student receiving McKinney-Vento services does not appear to live near the bus pickup location. Contact the student's prior school to determine if the student was identified as McKinney-Vento eligible there. Work with local liaisons from nearby school districts to share information about children and youth in homeless situations who have transferred between districts. Develop relationships with local shelters, housing providers, and low-cost motels and hotels. Request their assistance with identifying homeless families and youth or confirming a student's living arrangement when appropriate. Schools and LEAs must ensure that they are complying with all relevant privacy laws, including the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, which protects the privacy of student education records, including information about a student's living situation. 42 U.S.C. Section 11432, G. 3, G. The sharing of information between shelters, housing providers, and low-cost motels and hotels may occur only with the express consent of the parent or youth. For more information, download Interagency Data Disclosure, a tip sheet on interagency collaboration at https://oes.ed.gov/files/2021/05/ASI Interagency Data Disclosure PDF. Working with parents and youth. Sometimes, all that is needed to resolve questions about a student's eligibility is a conversation with the parent or youth. When speaking with the parent or youth, explain that you are requesting information to help you determine whether the child or youth would be eligible for additional supports. Conduct this conversation in a private space and a diplomatic manner, understanding that these conversations are very personal for the family or youth. Talk to unaccompanied youth about their home situation with care and sensitivity. Understand that although youth may hesitate to disclose it, their home may be a toxic, unsafe, or even abusive environment. When speaking with parents or youth about their living situation, focus on basic questions such as, why did you leave your last residence? Where did you sleep last night? And some of the other questions are included in NCHE's Determining Eligibility for McKinney-Vento Rights and Services brief. Avoid using the word homeless on school forms and in conversations with families or youth. Many families or youth would not want to be called homeless due to the stigma that may be associated with the term. Further, families or youth may not consider themselves homeless even though their living arrangement meets the definition. Confirming eligibility for McKinney-Vento Rights and Services 3, work with parents, caregivers, and youth to determine if they are able to provide any documentation that could confirm their living situation. Remember, however, that the McKinney-Vento Act prohibits schools from denying or delaying enrollment due to the inability to provide documentation normally required for enrollment. 42 U.S.C. Section 11432, G. 3, C, I. Have parents, caregivers, or youth sign enrollment forms indicating that McKinney-Vento services are offered based on information they have provided about their living situation. The forms should explain the consequences of providing false information in a neutral and non-threatening manner. Practices to avoid when seeking to confirm eligibility: occupancy permits, or notarized letters from the party whose housing they are sharing. While some families may be willing and able to provide this paperwork, others may be unable to do so. Still, others may hesitate to document that they are living in someone else's housing for fear of causing problems for the host party due to the violation of a lease, occupancy limits, or public housing guidelines. As noted above, schools must enroll students seeking McKinney-Vento eligibility immediately, even if they are unable to provide paperwork normally required for enrollment, including proof of residency. 42 U.S.C. Section 11432, G. 3, C, I. In some, a school district's attempts to verify a student's eligibility for McKinney-Vento services must be conducted reasonably and discreetly. If questions arise about a student's eligibility, the district must enroll the student immediately, seek additional information once full enrollment has occurred, and provide the opportunity to appeal a district's determination via the dispute resolution process should a dispute arise. For additional information on confirming McKinney-Vento eligibility, contact your state coordinator for homeless education or the National Center for NCHE recommends that districts and local liaisons comply with the following guidelines to ensure that efforts to confirm information about a child's or youth's living arrangement are reasonable, respectful, effective, discreet, and in compliance with privacy guidelines. Do not contact people or agencies outside the school system to seek information about a family's or youth's situation. Information about a homeless student's living arrangement is considered part of the student's education record and, as such, is covered by the privacy protections included in FERPA. 42 U.S.C. Section 11432, G. 3, G. For more information, visit https://nj.ed.gov/legislation/FERPA/ do not conduct invasive surveillance of families or youth, including following them, observing them from outside their residences, or talking to neighbors about their living situation. If needed, trained staff members may conduct home visits. Do not use police officers to conduct home visits. Do not insist that families or youth provide documents like eviction notices, utility bills, homeless education. References Subtitle 7B of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. 42 U.S.C. Section 11431 at the following https://uscode.house.gov/view.xhtml path equals prelim at title 42/chapter 119/subchapter 6/part B and edition equals prelim confirming eligibility for McKinney-Vento rights and services for this brief was developed by National Center for Homeless Education 800. 308-2145, left parenthesis toll-free helpline https://NCHED.gov originally published August 2017 updated April 2024. The National Center for Homeless Education, NCHE, operates the U.S. Department of Education's Technical Assistance Center for the Federal Education for Homeless Children and Youth, EHCY, program. NCHE is supported by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Safe and Healthy Students. The contents of this brief were developed under a grant from the department. However, these contents do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of the department. Every state is required to have a state coordinator for homeless education, and every school district is required to have a local homeless education liaison. These individuals oversee the implementation of the McKinney-Vento Act. To find out who your state coordinator is, visit the NCHE website at https://nche.ed.gov/WP content upload/2024/01/SC contact list.pdf. For more information on the education of children and youth experiencing homelessness, contact the NCHE helpline at 800-308-2145 or homeless@serve.org. Local contact information, confirming eligibility for McKinney-Vento rights and services.
Wow. A mouthful. Let's stop the share. So states really do have to do this level of work. My concerns are, how do we participate in this process as Americans who are Black, brown, shaded, however you want to see us in America? Who will you be in 2025? Know that we are live and we're not going back. Y'all have